Hello viewers, this is OBN Horn of Africa, our weekly program Invest in Ethiopia. Our guest today is Dr. Namara Gabayo, Director General of the Oromia Mining Development Authority, who will brief us on current mining developments, investment opportunities and regulatory reforms underway in Oromia region. Doctor, thank you for making this time for this interview.
Thank you very much for inviting me as well.
Well, first, what is the overall vision of the Oromia regional government regarding mining development? Let me begin with this question.
Yes. So, mining sector has not been, given due attention over past years. Now, within our broader economic reform agenda, one of the sector that has given due attention is the mining sector. Within that, the vision that we have is, to see this sector to be structurally, led as an economic sector and play its role in terms of export, in terms of supporting domestic industrialization, job opportunities, also domestic, government revenue. So this is the vision, we see for the sector to play its significant, contributions in that regard.
Well, how does this mining fit into Oromia's broader economic transformation strategy?
Yes, as I said earlier, this sector is one of the 5 economic sectors that the regional government has given due attention in terms of reforming, together with agriculture, tourism, manufacturing industry, and digital economy. This sector is part of that broader economic reform agenda and strategy that we have at the region. As I said earlier, this sector is supposed to play a strategic role in terms of export revenue, in terms of also supplying input for domestic industrialization and job opportunities and government revenue. It is because of these fundamental objectives, outcomes that the government expects from this sector. It's become part of the broader economic strategy of the country as well as the region.
Well, let us talk about mineral types found in Oromia region specifically. So what key minerals are prioritized for development in Oromia?
Yes, there are 4 broader classifications of mining. We have construction minerals, we have industrial minerals, we have precious minerals, and also we have base metal classifications. So of course we prioritize all of these types of mineral resources in terms of giving due attention and the support that it requires. But if you ask me the economic values, the strategic relevance, we have some critical minerals in the precious, including gold, and also other critical minerals such as tantalum, lithium, and also other base metals, more of metallic minerals such as iron, copper. We have all these resources in the region, and these are the types of mineral resources that we're giving due attention and giving a support that requires to develop efficiently to get the required economic benefits from these mineral types.
Well, actually you have tried to mention in the previous question. So how does mining contribute to regional and national revenue generation?
Yes, I think in terms of revenue, the major contributions we expect from mining is revenue. Okay. Revenue of 2 types. The first revenue is export revenue by exporting the minerals to the international market, generating foreign exchange. At the moment, gold is playing a significant role. If you can only speak of the previous fiscal year performance, gold alone, contributed more than 3 billion, foreign currency in US dollar. There are also other minerals like that we export to the international market, but not of that, magnitude in terms of exchange. But in the future, this is, one of the major, areas benefit that we require from the mining by expanding to other resources. The other type of revenue is domestic government revenue. that comes in different aspects. There are land rent that we collect from the license holders. There are royalties that are collected at the very local level, at the Warada level, and also there are other corporate profit income tax that we expect from these license holders or business organizations involved in the mining sector. So these are the two critical revenue that we expect from mining sector.
As you have mentioned, mining is one of the sector identified as the 5 pillars of economy by the government of Ethiopia. So in the past, especially over the past 7 years, what kinds of reforms are undertaken, especially in terms of attracting both local and international investors?
Yes, I think one of the major bottleneck for the mining sector is our macroeconomic framework. The financing and the forex regime were not suitable to attract major investors to the mining sector. So one of the key reform activities done through the macroeconomic policy environment created a good business environment for the mining sector. Hence we are seeing a lot of interest coming from global investors to invest in Ethiopian mining sector as well as our regional mining industry. So these are the major reform activities undertaken. And also in terms of creating a good business environment in terms of how to give licenses after licenses are issued to the investors to facilitate for them to operationalize and enter into production. The overall environment has changed in terms of doing business in mining sector as well. So this reform is also ongoing. Now what we are seeing is a new policy regime is being drafted by the Ministry of Mines. Comes with that is also legal framework reforms. We're going to reform our proclamations, our regulations, and also the directives that we have to be able to ground the reforms and give it a legal and policy framework that will sustain the sector to be structurally led as one of the economic sectors for the years to come.
So so far, how much domestic and foreign investors are operating in, especially in Oromia, in this sector?
Yes, at the moment, given the potential that we have, we wouldn't say we have enough numbers of investment in mining sector. It's still at the early stage, and what I always call mining is an infant industry in Ethiopia. We just started creating an active policy environment for this sector, and also be able to give different frameworks at the government level. So yes, most of our investors currently are domestic investors who are involved in this sector, and also most of them are not large scale investors. These are small scale enterprises organized through different use associations, and this is the significant players that we have in the sector. But our major reform that we are trying to promote at the moment is to be able to attract those major investors domestically who have the capital, access to technology, and also access to expertise, knowledge. This sector requires huge knowledge and capacity to operate in this sector. And through that also our main ambition is to attract such investors from a global market. At the moment actually we have a quite interesting movement from the foreign investors to come to our region, inquiring how to invest in the sector, in the region's mining industry. We have few licenses held by foreign investors. We also have more resources and mining concessions on which we wanted to attract foreign investors. There are actually some undergoing negotiations as well with the American investors, with the Chinese investors who are interested to invest in our mining industry.
There are also many projects underway in different parts of Oromia. We can take the previously launched Tuluk Happy gold mining industry. So could you tell us the major projects and their benefits in the coming years?
Yes. So yeah, as you said, Tuluk Happy is one of the major, gold investment, which are going to be financed internationally by Trade and Development Bank of Africa, TDB, and also AFC. And this is of large scale size, and it's owned by a public listed company, which is called KEFI Minerals. The investors are from Europe and also from the level from Australia. And this is a major prospect for us, having a gold project of large scale, which are financed by international institutions. It's really good to create such an environment to attract, to put Oromia mineral resources in the global mining investment, to attract more investors. So this is the major investment we have. But at the moment, the other foreign investment we have in mining is at the exploration stage. Still, at the steady scoping level. There are also some negotiations undergoing, which is not finalized, so hence not to comment publicly. We have critical minerals of lithium and tantalum in Guji zone. At the moment, we are negotiating with a major investor who is with the potential of $1 billion USD to invest in our region. And others are in the exploration stage, and which are quite progressing very good, and in few years we see those entering production and development stage.
What role does such companies will play, especially in transferring technology and boosting product and productivity in the area, even in creating job opportunities?
Yes, as I said earlier, the biggest role we would expect is for us to be able to have publicly listed, internationally publicly listed companies investing in our region. This puts our mining industry in the global mining framework, which is a major role, to play by foreign investors. In terms of productivity also, these investors have, the required capital, the required technology, and the required expertise to be able to expand the productive capacity of the industry, hence the productivity from mining. And through that, we'll have more export revenues, more government revenue as well, and also the job opportunities they would create for local use, not only in terms of being employed in the industry, but also transferring some knowledge and skills in the mining industry, which we significantly lack in our domestic mining industry. So these are the major roles we would expect these investors to play in the mining industry and also in the overall economy of the region.
Let us talk about the local communities. So how are local communities benefiting from mining sector?
Yes, the benefit to the local communities could be seen in different varieties. The first one is, as I said earlier, our local youth will be directly employed in this industry, and also the fact that having such investment, huge, large scale investment in our local communities would create so many backward linkages, be it for the agricultural sector or also other service economies when such big investment comes with a huge human labor and also capital mobilization. So this is one aspect how the community would benefit. The other is there are other funds that we collect from mining, what we call a community development fund. These community development funds are raised from the mining activities, mining development, and we reinvest back into public projects, public services to provide to the local communities. And the other aspect through which communities would benefit is also the revenues that we generate from mining, be it in terms of export and also government revenue. The government reinvest back this revenue through infrastructure, electricity, road, and also other social infrastructure such as schooling and health facilities. So these are how the communities, benefit from mining activity. Not only mining, but any investment of such, type would always benefit the local community in such varieties.
Well, talking about environmental protection, what environmental safeguards are required before mining license are issued as your authority?
Yes, One of the very important aspect about mining is the sustainability issue. These resources are mostly non-renewable, and you have to dig the soil, you have to cut trees to take the subsoil wells, and through that there are certain level of distractions happening to the environment. So in order to balance the economic gains, the social objective and the environmental objectives, we have a very critical legal framework that ensures that before any investment is provided to private sector, there has to be environmental and social impact assessment that has to be undertaken. What this environmental and social impact assessment provides is the potential damages that is to happen to the environment and to the local community, and they also put forward strategies through which we can minimize these such damages to the investment. So the investors will have environmental management plan and also social development plan, so that the government will regulate, will do a proper monitoring and evaluations whether these sectors are not fulfilling the standards required by the law to protect the environment and also to benefit the local communities.
What works are underway to bring artisan mining to the highest level?
Actually, this is a very good question. As I said earlier, in our mining industry at the moment, the significant number of licenses are provided to artisanal mining, what we call association-based micro enterprises.
Okay.
And these enterprises, they lack a proper knowledge, they lack a proper capacity, and their access to capital and technology is very limited, and hence the damage they cause to the environment and to the resource in a sense of most of the resources, they dig the land, but they cannot be able to extract the maximum level of resources ores from the ore body, and hence the damage happens to the environment. What we are doing at the moment is we wanted to really transition our mining industry from artisanal dominated to more a business, modern business organizations, in order to ensure efficiency in terms of getting the maximum economic benefit from these non-renewable resources. So one of the key support that the government is now providing is we are reorganizing these association-based enterprises into a modern business model. We also cluster the lands that they have so that they will have scale capacity. So the more the resources they will access, the more they can generate benefit and revenue from it. So we are organizing them into modern business enterprises so that we can link them with the financial institutions, with the machinery supplying infrastructures or institutions, so that they will have the capacity required. So that is what the critical reform we are undertaking to support these artisanal miners to transit to more modern form of mining with appropriate mining method and technologies.
As the aim of our program is promoting these natural resources and investment opportunities in the country, so finally, if you have any final message for investors and other stakeholders, you can do it.
Yes, so this is a good opportunity what you guys are doing. I see it as promoting our resources for not only domestic investors but the global investors. And as I said earlier, at the beginning, our sector is transforming, changing. The government is providing a due attention to make doing business in mining easier, and the facilitation, the support of the government in terms of public services is also we're doing good reforms on the ground. And I invite all the interested investors, be it from domestic and international, to come to our region and invest in mining, and we can provide that required facilitations and services for the investors to quickly operationalize projects and get the benefits every stakeholders would expect from this mining, be it the community, the government, and the investors as well. So thank you for this opportunity, and yeah, that's the message I pass.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Namarra Gabayyo, Director General of the Oromia Mining Development Authority. Thank you for your time and the deep insight on our program.
Thank you very much. I appreciate for the chance.
Dear viewers, that's all what we have for today. See you next time with another program. Till then, bye-bye. Take care.